Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, here comes the hot stepper, Luke Gledall. He's the stairway-based gangster. Luke Gledall, he goes up and down stairs lots. Luke Gledall, still love you like that. Luke Gledall, how are you doing today, Luke?
I love that. I tried to really hold my laughs in until after you'd finished. I do know what Bo don't know. Touch him up and go.
Hey.
Uh-oh. Chang? Is that what he says?
Chang. Yeah, that's in there as well. Yeah.
Oh, Ine Kamoze. What else did you do, Ine Kamoze? What other treasures did you have in store for us? What if I delved into your back catalogue? If I listened to your best of, would it be that and 5 remixes of the same song, or did you have anything else? Which reminds me, thanks to our mutual friend Ed. Did you ever get into? There was one hit wonder in the late '80s by a Dutch rap duo called Holiday. And I can't remember what they're called now.
Oh,
and it's all sampling Madonna's Holiday.
It does ring a bell.
We're all going on a summer holiday. And there's a line of, we're going to ring ding-a-ding for the holiday. And also one of them looks a bit like Jos Lukai as well.
Oh, excellent.
I don't know what it is. I'll find out what it is and we'll talk. It's so funny. So I don't know. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate really appreciate the intro. It's nice to have a bit of gratitude. I kind of stopped after I did that thing and did that dedication to my mom. I put a post on Facebook. I should get back into it. I think it's a bit difficult because I was going to try and build up to something like that. And then because of what happened, I kind of did that first. So it kind of took the wind out my sails. And I still haven't managed to find out how many stairs there are in Hillsborough. But when I get some spare time, that's probably maybe a next big one. Maybe. I've also wondered about maybe within this world, I could probably just go downtown in Calgary and maybe do the Stairs of the Bow, which is one of it used to be the highest. Okay. So maybe during these times I can just take advantage of people working from home by just turning up and just walking wherever I like on private property. Basically, who knows? Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll get arrested. Who knows?
Give it a try. I mean, I think it'd be fine. I think you get away with it. But how's your week been thus far?
It's been a bit tough building up to yesterday was my mum's funeral. So because of my kind of situation with the lockdown, I streamed it for my mum's funeral. So even being a Sheffield Wednesday fan and having a very dark kind of sense of humor and kind of a real gallows humor, streaming into my mother's funeral is possibly one of the darkest things I think has come out of my mouth, and something really to imagine. And then here's hoping that we're coming to these games that are televised. Here's hoping that I'm not streaming in early hours of the morning another funeral.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just can't imagine. I mean, unfortunately, that's been an experience for quite a few folks, even if they have been sort of based in the same area as people that have passed away. Mm-hmm. There's been a limit to the number of people that can go to funerals and things. So, I can only imagine how sort of surreal that experience must be. I mean, it's a strange thing at the best of times, but
it's given me a weird kind of buffer from reality, really.
Yeah.
Buffer. Ho streaming.
And
so I don't know. There's a whole wealth we can get into. It's been a tough week, but it was also a really beautiful ceremony and a really nice tribute to my mum. So I'm really happy it went well, and a lot of people did a lot of work, including my awesome brothers, so I want to give them a shout out as well, and their families and all my family back home. So that happened. It went well as it could. So I'm glad it's over, and I'm glad to kind of be back and kind of looking at what things I can be productive with next, and get back into a bit more of a rhythm of things, including another fine episode 49 of Different Gravy, doing it with you, my esteemed and valued friend.
Ah, lovely stuff. Well, I think maybe this is a good time to bring ourselves on to breaking hoo-hoos for the week. Two sort of expected but significant chunks of news in the week. So we had the fixture list sort of dribble out. So there was a bit of conjecture from me last week that maybe we wouldn't do the fixtures in order, but we are. So basically that it's everything just squeezed together and moved till the end of June, early July, which means we kick off again with Forest on Saturday. And in particular, it looks like we've got quite a tough week for ourselves where we play, 1st of July, we play West Brom at home. We've got Swansea away on the Sunday, and then we play Preston at home the next Wednesday. So that feels like, of a fairly tough run in, that feels like a particularly tough sort of 7-day stretch. We've also had some announcements of sort of certain games being covered live on Sky Sports, so we'll get some high quality coverage rather than the sometimes fine iFollow, often sort of patchy iFollow streams. So we'll see how that goes, and then everything's kind of official in terms of League 2 and League 1. They're going to play the playoffs, I believe, but that's it. Nobody else is going to sort of play any more games this season. It's effectively the season's finished. They've just moved straight into the postseason. They've done everything on a straight points per game basis. So that's decided who's been relegated, who's been automatically promoted, and who's ended up in those playoff places. I don't know how I would feel being in that position. I mean, we talked. I've got a colleague in work who's a Tranmere Rovers fan, and to be relegated in that situation, we touched on the fact that Tranmere in particular, they'd won their last 3 games, and I think they had a couple of games in hand as well. That feels quite harsh in their situation, that the kind of method used doesn't really pay any attention to the fact that they still had more ground to make up than the other teams, and the fact that they were playing well before something that had nothing to do with them affected the season.
But yeah, I mean, these are the kind of casualties of what happens when you curtail something. Yeah. I mean, you're killing any kind of sense of potential and what could potentially happen. I mean, at least, we're in a difficult position. I mean, we're essentially cruising towards lower mid-table. I think we'll probably have enough to do prior to any sanctions, stay out of the relegation spots. But then effectively we could have a decision ruled against us, which basically kills the season for us anyway. So it's kind of immaterial for us. But I mean, there are other teams that near the bottom who feel like they probably have a chance to kind of stay up and keep the dream alive. There are teams at the top who want to kind of, find themselves, secure those automatic positions or secure a playoff position. So there's a lot of teams, I guess, who it's unfair to not play on. So I do have a lot of sympathy for those teams in Leagues 1 and 2 for any level of competitive football that you feel that you had a point to prove and you had something to say.
My sister was at pains to remind me following the last episode that we are technically closer to the playoffs than the relegation zone. So when I was getting maudlin and worrying about the relegation, the bottom end of things, technically, points-wise, we're closer to the top end.
Sure. I mean, it's a glass half full, but I would argue that the glass isn't full of anything I want to drink or use for any purpose.
Well, the glass appeared to be made of something that wasn't waterproof towards when lockdown was implemented.
That's very true. Yeah.
What you've done, Gary, is choose to carry your water around in a sieve, which is one of the worst things. So there's also the fact that the Football League won their appeal against Birmingham City, but haven't deducted any points from them. So I don't know whether that means that they're feeling in a nice mood. They've come over all benevolent.
See, I sympathise with Birmingham actually to the point where I'm actually quite supportive of Birmingham in this position, which surprises me because I've previously said a lot of nasty things about Birmingham City Football Club. I really don't see, they're one of those personal kind of dislikes of a club where I don't particularly see the point of them. There are more prominent and interesting kind of football teams in that vicinity, even including Wolves, who I don't particularly like. You know, kind of West Brom, Villa. You know, so I don't particularly see. I guess to the point where you just think as an outsider, you're external. Yeah, you look externally to that and you think, how did the lines of division of support kind of go for these teams? I don't really understand. I don't understand a lot about the West Midlands.
It's a big statement to make, Luke.
I don't get it. Maybe I need to go to understand it. Maybe a really bad TV show, if I got to a certain level of minor celebrity, would be me doing a travelogue, a bit like Stephen Fry. Instead of him going to America, I would go to the West Midlands. I'd go to Droitwich. But I don't know. So anyway, but I'm sympathetic to them and their club. But also I don't see the point of saying, well, you're guilty, but there's no punishment. Because what's the point of that? Do they have any punishment?
Doesn't seem to be now.
No, well, it doesn't seem to be like there's no fine.
It's a bit like one of those sort of civil lawsuits that happen in America after a big criminal trial. You know, like somebody gets charged like $1 because it's like they're a bit guilty kind of thing. Or like the thing, you know how OJ ended up having to write that book called If I Did It?
Yeah.
You know, something like that. It's a bit like the footballing equivalent of that kind of punishment, it seems. I'm just imagining now, you know, taking a Gledall to Walsall, a Luke Eaton Ludlow. I don't know. I'm just... There's some work to do on the pitch, I think, before you take it to Netflix, your travelogue. So
Partridge among the pigeons type
exactly.
Title.
Exactly.
I love that bit when he said, you know, and then you know, he's then asked, "What's that?" And he says, "It's just a title."
Just a title.
It's just a title. Anyway, I'm sure we'll fresh it out. We're spitballing ideas, you know. Rich and I with our Leeds United documentary cocaine ideas. Nothing's a bad idea.
I'd imagine, you know, once you've gone on your epic journey around the West Midlands, I'd imagine what you'd probably find out is it's the same kind of messy mix of who your family support, who your mates support, where you live.
Yeah,
etc. You know, memories, experiences. So
I once got stung by a hawthorn, so I don't like West Bromwich Albion.
Exactly.
A wolf saved me as a child with my brother, so therefore I like Wolverhampton Wanderers.
And I live in Rome.
Yes.
So our sort of main body of the podcast today is we thought to whet our appetites for the return of some actual new football next week. We'd watch one of this season's better games back on iFollow, and it's not a particularly long list. The best games from this season, is it, Luke?
No.
So one that does stand out and is particularly timely because they're our next opponents was our dismantling of Nottingham Forrest at their place. So we thought we'd watch that one ahead of playing them again next week. So shall we get going on that, Luke?
We shall. And I believe you have some special walkthrough.
some tech advice for those on iFollow. So if you just visit the page on iFollow, it doesn't start straight away, I believe, which is good. If you're in that position, you can just sit tight till we say press play. If you have interacted with the window in almost any other way, it starts playing the video and it's impossible to get it back to zero by sort of dragging the little carrot along the line or sort of rewinding. There's no time to pause or whatever. But if you hit the button, which is a kind of, I would say, skip track backwards kind of thing. It's a vertical line with an arrow pointing left. Hit that, it will start your video over. So we should all be on the same sort of times as we go through the game. So without further ado, I'm going to do a countdown. Luke, you ready for this?
I'm ready for this.
So we'll go for 3, 2, 1, go. Folks coming out of the tunnel.
I want to say I love the Be Bold little logo and slogan on the Forest thing. Be bold,
Be bold.
in Nottingham. Is that Robin Hood?
It is.
Is that their mascot?
Apparently.
Even though he was probably around in Doncaster.
Alive and well and living in Doncaster.
So
we got Tommy.
Also Cammy.
Yeah. Who from the did you watch the scintillating footage of the Wednesday v Wednesday at Hillsborough highlights? Did you see that from this week on YouTube?
I did not know.
Ah, well, it looked like Wednesday won, thankfully, but there was more Alice Band's action than there was goal mouth action. It's got to be said. But it looked like Wickham sort of tucked a goal away under mile safe Cammy. But yeah, quite a few Alice bands on the go. I think Fletcher's got an Alice band going. Reach has got an Alice band going. I don't know whether I approve or not. But there you go. Oh, look at this. There's some graphics on the screen, Luke.
Yeah. You don't really get this, right?
No, because I don't think I've watched any games on iFollow actually. So this is fun. They've got a Dawson of their own. Baddie of the first Calverhall season. Matt Dawson. Is it Matt Dawson?
Not sure. Could be.
Matt Dawson's the rugby guy, isn't he? So it would be weird if there was. Oh well.
There could be a number of Dawsons.
That Dawson, who is a centre back, is the one that they had. So we got a Wednesday lineup in front of us. This is crazy. We don't need to make any guesses. Coinciding with most good performances this season, Luongo is starting, and it's very nice to see him back. So go on.
And this was also a rare kind of pairing of Lees and Iorfa. That was good, right?
Yeah. So we've got a back four of Palmer, Iorfa, Lees and Fox. Midfield is Reach, Luongo, Bannon and Harris. And then up top, Fletcher and Jordan Rhodes.
If Rhodes is 6, then Harris is 7.
Then Fletcher's 9. Then Fletcher's
9.
I also feel like we've not seen very much of Reach on the right of late either, have we? He's tended to swap with Harris more often than. I suppose because Murphy's done so well, to be fair.
It was surprising that he managed to be as prominent a figure as he is, but changing his complete political ideology from the left wing to the right wing.
Some people believe that they kind of join in the middle on the other side, you know?
For a centrist. Do you remember his centrist role under...
but the extreme left and the extreme right are closer together than a centrist and an extreme leftist or an extreme rightist. I think
that was a really bad passel on the back there, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah.
A little bit worrying. I mean, this is interesting that there's a real tempo to this already.
Craig Cash has had to get rid of... It's not Craig Cash either, is it? But Matty Cash, isn't it? Stamp on a balloon. Craig Cash is Dave from the royal family. Denise, I'm just stepping on a balloon. Don't want it to get in the way later.
I keep thinking of Aya Cash, the wonderful actress from You're the Worst.
Perhaps the best of all the Cashes.
I think so.
My Dave from Royal Family ended up being quite Alan Bennett there, but I'm not going to apologise. There was a chip in the sugar.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
We've got Luongo playing as well.
from
We've
France.
got Luongo playing. This is. I'd be, I'm contentious with that centre back pairing, but other than this, I mean, it's not too far off. I'm wondering if we're going to go with this. I wonder if we will ever see Rhodes and Fletcher again.
Well, he was involved in that game, but I suppose everybody that was fit was involved in that game. I'm going to pull up the team sheet from that game because somebody published it on Owls Talk, just to give you a feel. It didn't really read like either of them were necessarily. Sometimes those kind of like team versus team games, one team is very clearly the first team.
Yes.
It didn't necessarily read like that, but let me pull it up. Sorry about this. Oh, do you know, one of these weird things with like message boards is that time happens and then the thing that was at the top before,
it's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore. It's really far down.
Oh, pithy shot on target from one of the Amiobis. I am bemused by, because obviously Matt Cash is a bit of a forward player, so I think they've kind of put him in a right back kind of berth for the kind of overlap. But in terms of squad numbers, seeing a fullback wearing a number 11 is making my shit itch. I'll be honest. I think that's the term.
It's the exact term. It's the best term to use.
I think so. So
I'm really drawing a blank on this. Sorry.
It's okay. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think we're just going to have to give up on that.
Okay, that's no worries. But anyway, it was a really intriguing pairing. I think this is the first time we saw them both together, right? Possibly. It may have been done before, but I mean, this was.
Well, there was one. I don't know whether it was this game or the game, whether it was the game before or the game after. But there was. We were talking about how he'd sort of found a role for Rhodes that seemed to work quite well. There was a home game where we were kind of plugging away and not really getting anywhere, and he brought on Rhodes at half time, and it kind of did the trick.
Yes. I remember you talking about that. I remember us talking about.
He didn't really do anything. He didn't, he didn't score goals or anything like that. But it did sort of help.
I think we talked about some strange kind of alchemy that happened.
We did. This is different gravy eating itself as an episode because we've analysed this game after it happened, and now we're watching it live for other purposes. So yeah, there may well be some echoes of the past as we go through this.
We can just say that it's very meta, as opposed to saying that it's just very lazy and regurgitated.
Well, we had an episode called. Actually, that would be a way to know without looking at the fixture list. The episodes of this podcast would be a way to know because one of them is called Rhodes Fracking.
Rhodes Fracking. It's Rhodes Fracking, isn't it? Yeah.
But it's which side of the Antiques Roadshow?
This is the Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah, this is the Antique Roadshow, which was
before, wasn't it?
Rhodes Fracking. Yeah, so Rhodes Fracking was the week before. So that game was where he seemed to have found a role for Rhodes. Then he started this one, scored a hat-trick, and I believe was dropped straight afterwards, which in so many ways, Gary Monk is like our Lord in that he moves in mysterious ways. And that was one of the more mysterious ones because you kind of got to reward someone for a hat-trick, haven't you?
I think so.
Kinda. That sort of buys you the next 4 or 5, I would think.
I wonder if there's something in the coaching badges that affords you a
couple of really lovely balls swept in from Fox already.
It's lovely, yeah.
Yeah, a certain level of coaching just puts you on a higher plane to everybody else.
I think so. Oh, this is some lovely movement and kind of knocking around as well. And we're really at the monoblem as well. I think this was the thing that, like, I know the Forest fans, I think, were impeccably disappointed, obviously, with getting rinsed 4-0 in the first half.
Yeah.
But as well as being a dominant, performance, I think that they kind of came at it as well, which I think really just led into this perfect storm of Goalfest. Much a bit similar to, the Middlesbrough game. Because I don't think they were particularly closed or negative.
No.
It was really just the triumph of really a Monk side where it is a little bit counter-attacking.
Well, again, though, there's a clear... We're playing in a... Like, we've got a plan to how we play. And that, generally, if we're in that position, seems to be when we play quite well. Or at least, like, we've not always won the games, but we've given a good account of ourselves in those games. It's just the ones where we come out and look like we just have no idea what we're supposed to be doing. And there was just too many of those towards the end of it's not the end of the season, towards the sort of lockdown period. But this, clearly, like, what we're trying to do is overload them on the wings. But you can, even though we've not scored yet, we've had 2 balls in from Fox. We've had a ball in from Palmer. You can kind of see what the plan's about. And actually, interestingly, Bannon and Luongo sitting probably a bit deeper than Luongo would normally do. But it's to give us that cover because the full-backs are pushing up. So, yeah, there's some thought to it. We've watched what they do. And there's the first one. A big cami lump forward. I've lost you, Luke. Are you still there?
Hello? I'm still here, yeah. Sorry, I think I might be just a little bit behind you on this one.
False.
What time do you have on your clock there, Rich?
At the moment, there's no clock up. I will tell you when it comes up.
Right. It is such a beautiful goal, though.
There's lots
and
of
just brilliant
replays.
kind of words best. What a lovely kind of cushion knock on from Fletcher.
That's a lot of replays.
What a finish.
So it comes off Fletcher's back and shoulder as much as it's a header on.
It does.
But you can see the strength of him. So, right, I've got a clock back on the screen and I'm now at 9 minutes and 30 seconds. I don't know what we do if we're miles out of sync.
I had a point where it paused, unfortunately, so I tried to get it back.
We could I could pause it.
Where are you now?
I could pause it 10 minutes.
Let's go by yours. Let's go by yours. Where are you now?
I'm at 9. Like, I'm 10 minutes now. Just got to 10 minutes.
Jeez, fuck.
You miles out.
Oh dear. Well, we could just. Okay, I think I'm about right. So I'm 10:08.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well then
What awful podcasting stuff. I think it's just my connection. It's just been a bit laggy, and then it paused for a bit. And I'm like, oh crap, and then it's happened again.
So what are you now?
10:18.
Okay, so we're less than 10 seconds apart now. So that feels.
Okay. Well.
There's a little bit.
The first half of this is the goal frenzy in the first half. Isn't it? Let's be honest. So it's,
well, like I say, the only other way to fix it is I pause mine and we try and hit play again. I try and hit play, bang on a certain time for you.
It doesn't matter.
There's a lull here at the 11th minute. I could hit pause. Let's do 11:11. I'm going to hit pause at 11:11. This is scintillating stuff. I mean, this is... Right, tell me when you hit 11:11. You still not there?
No, I messed up.
Oh, come on!
Just do it from now. Just do it from now.
But I don't. Now I'm going to be miles behind you. Because I just sat for about 30 seconds waiting for you to tell me you'd come up.
I want you to stop doing this because of the editing of the podcast, man. Where are you now?
I'm at 11.
We keep doing this. Are we still doing the podcast?
40.
Or should we just abandon this at this point? Or... Do you want to stop doing this?
I think this should stay in. I think this is fun. This is what, our fourth or fifth watch along. It's the only time I've had problems, and it's the only time we've used iFollow. I think it's just a story.
It's our champion iFollow. That's why.
I've just got to 12 minutes. Where are you?
Now I'm 12 minutes.
Okay. So I'm still ahead somehow. Wow. Okay. Weird.
I don't know.
Oh, good hustle from Fox. Good pass away as well.
Mm.
Just to flag it up for people, second half, we're going to have a scintillating discussion about what's going to happen with out-of-contract players. So, whilst we enjoy Fox and Fletcher, just think on, that's coming. Oh, did you just have the cutback from Reach that managed to miss both the players?
I thought I'd just try to catch up with you, and then it paused again. Oh, my connection's not good today. This is not good.
It's also...
There we go. Now Rhodes has just got a second.
Yay!
Hey, beautiful. Oh, my word. This is a nightmare.
Oh, dear. That's a great cross.
It was a brilliant cross.
And nice. A good header. Really good header. I mean, his finishes in this game are tremendous. Like, unlike anything we've seen probably in a Wednesday shirt, full stop.
I know. And it's just so casual and so easy. It makes it just look so natural.
He's now. I mean, that's sort of a kind of meat and potatoes goal for a striker, but he obviously took it really well. But that first one, I don't think I've seen him take one shot from that distance in a Wednesday shirt before he scored the one he scored there. So we're 13 minutes in. We're already 2-0 up. What a great position to be in. Ooh, bit too fancy from Fletcher. Gets caught out. The fun is that if we've had these issues with iFollow, folks listening at home will probably be in the same position, so they may well be even slower than you, Luke.
Maybe so. Who knows?
Oh, Rhodes nearly bought his classic Rhodes foul. Is the little ginger guy Watson for them?
Ben Watson?
Isn't it?
Formerly of Wigan?
Yeah.
FA Cup goal scorer. Is that the same one? Is he the one who scored when Wigan won the FA Cup against City?
Yes. And McManaman played the ball in, right?
I think it was.
Yeah. I remember having a conversation with a Wigan fan that they'd signed McManaman, and that was like they were really excited for the season because they'd signed McManaman. And I was like, he's not. There's not much left, mate. And he's like, no, he knows the club, and he's going to be good for us. I think he's lost his way, kind of thing. Like there was just nothing, was there really? Just anger. He's like 4'9" of bile and very little else. And to be fair, I don't think he did anything much for them, to be honest.
So I love the concept of people saying, he knows the club, as though like that's some great puzzle that's deterred.
I know exactly.
Being like, wait, you guys want to play football and win? I don't know. This is so against my culture.
He couldn't figure out Sheffield Wednesday. It's too much.
I just came to play Beggar My Neighbour with Tom Lees. My agent said there'll be definitely games of Monopoly Go with Kadeem Harris and his friends. That was right, wasn't it? Who was playing Monopoly Go, or was it Jacob Murphy? Jacob Murphy played Monopoly Go with Jordan Rhodes. That's what we learned in the lockdown.
Yes, that's what it was. Oh, amazing.
Just the weirdest pairings of human beings.
Was a
Kind of
Norwich
beautiful,
connection,
really. I think, I guess so. Yeah.
They both get the club when the club is Norwich.
Really sad. There were problems in the dressing room. I just couldn't figure out how to play Monopoly Go.
They were playing actual rummy, and I've only ever played Rummy Cub before.
This is a really bad. Me and you doing this and going back through watching it's almost a bit like a really bad time travel thing.
It's Rick and Morty, but bad.
Richard and Mortimer.
Richard and Mortimer. As Reach trying for his trying to roll back to his goal against Leeds, drop the shoulder and whack a volley over the goalie. He's a pacey chap, is Mr. Amiobi. It's got to be. I don't know how much else there is, but he's rapid.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a fan of Graben as well.
I like Graben a lot as a player. Disappointing that he never seemed to be, never seemed to be in our window when we had the money to do.
Exactly. Yeah, he was sort of in our orbit a couple of times, but always just out of reach. He circled the drain of S6, but never quite fell down the plug hole. But I've got a lot of time. I think Fletcher is that same sort of mould of a kind of action frontman, all out frontman. But I think he's a better goal scorer than Fletcher generally. This season aside, he's a better goal scorer than Fletcher. Oh, Rhodes flicking it on now. This is the weird thing. It was just such a total transformation from Rhodes. Oh.
Yep.
Great effort from Fletcher.
That's a good clearance from Dawson as well, to be fair.
It was. On another day, the ref might have had a look at that tug on Fletcher's shirt, because it was pretty blatant. And when you're kind of isolated from other players in that way, it tends to get blown up, doesn't it? When it's just so obvious what you've just done. That kind of all eyes turn to those two players. We've just seen you grab his shoulder. Forrest have had a lot of the ball here, but they're having to sort of work hard to even get into our half. And then resorting to quite long, hopeful punts over the top. Get to see that Fletcher chance again in replay. Oh, Harris absolutely doing cash twice. Lovely stuff. Oh, that's such a Fletcher shot.
Yeah, that's a real Fletcher type of finish, isn't it?
Yeah. It's really difficult to sort of manipulate his big body in a way to get onto the ball, but he somehow finds a way to just twist and stretch himself and get a foot on it. So obviously one of the, obviously we've got Forest next week, but they're in pretty fine fettle if they manage to carry through some of their form from before the lockdown, aren't they? They're in the midst of a late push to get themselves into the playoff places.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never really particularly understand Forest as a team and as a club. So, if I was signed, I wouldn't be very good for them, because I don't know the club. They're going to be like, we play Parcheesi, and I'm like, do you mean Ludo? And they're like, no, Parcheesi. I just don't get them. Just don't get the culture. But seriously, I don't think I never quite know. The difficult thing is, like, Forest are a club, with that rich history, obviously, and the fans have very much an expectation similar to maybe Wednesday, but I think maybe more so. They typically usually think that they're going to get promoted every season. From what I think I kind of understand about Forest fans.
I think that I sort of bracket them in my mind as, which is sort of, I suppose, a little bit ironic history-wise, but I think of them in the same sort of way as Derby. They're kind of perennial tenders for the playoff places, but a good season is finishing 6th, a bad season is finishing 10th, and that's kind of where they live by and large.
Yeah, but I don't really see with Derby. I felt that they've always looked at them and they've always had some very useful players and squads, and I've sometimes looked at them with a real bit of envy towards what they have. Forest haven't really kind of figured out. I mean, they've started spending some money now. Yeah. So I know they're doing the whole kind of super agent type stuff.
Well, yeah.
So they should be in a lot better kind of fettle and shape.
But Derby tend to finish 5th or 6th because they were 3rd or 2nd or 3rd and then drop down, and Forest tend to finish 6th or 7th because they were 15th and then won some games between Christmas and the end of the season. I do think they both kind of have a kind of typical season that they tend to have.
But I mean, they're below my radar, so I mean, there are kind of going to the radar in my world. Like, I haven't seen what any great kind of transition has been, rather than a team that just, a bit. I feel they're a bit more kind of Preston-esque without the kind of application or the kind of approach, like the unique approach. In that, I think they're, have some talent, but they're quite inconsistent.
This is a huge let off on two fronts, because you've seen referees give penalties for what Fox did. Mm-hmm. Manoeuvring the player's body out the way without getting the ball is, especially in the box, it's real dicey stuff.
How much have we missed Luongo?
Oh, massively. It would be so good if we can have him between now and the end of the season. I'll feel an awful lot better about our chances. Oh, it's a great move.
It's so good.
Harris does his usual shot.
Usual lovely shot that looks better than it actually
looks really good. 3 foot wide.
Yeah. I do love Harris's build as a football player.
Yes, me too.
That stocky, quick as anything.
I did think this at the time, and I still think it watching back. That really is a handball. Like, there's no need for Dawson's arms to be all the way outstretched, and it definitely stops the ball rolling for Fletcher. In the context of the half of football we're in, a penalty on top would have been, too much. But it was a pretty naughty bit of defending, which is I suppose what he does really for a living. Iorfa and Dawson ahead of their time there, doing a kind of elbow brush, forearm elbow brush.
It's a nice little, the social distancing greetings.
Yeah.
Nice little stop.
Yeah, I always think keepers get too much praise for just saving a ball that is directly above their head.
Well, there you go, Rich. I'll put that on the fire of more praise for keepers for doing the basics of their job.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be generous too.
I know.
Mal save Cammy.
It's not, and it's nothing against him in particular. I just think in general, people go, "Oh, what a stop!" And it's like, if that went in, that would be what we talked about in this game. Is why did he just let the ball run over his head and not put his arms up? Getting over the bar is good, obviously.
So, I mean, at this point, Forrest don't look completely defeated. They're going at it. They're still giving it some.
Yeah. And we are shaking a little bit at the back. Like there's some cracks in how things are going.
What's the word I love, which I can never really pronounce? Profligacy.
Oh yes, yeah.
There's a very distinct lack of profligacy from Forrest.
Yeah, almost no condoms.
Oh, shout out to, I remember the Sage Francis line, "Don't get pissed off like a used prophylactic."
Yeah, nice.
For Cameron Dawson, I want more Cammy in the Street Fighter games, less Kylie Minogue playing Cammy in the Street Fighter the movie.
Oh, Fletch throwing his weight around.
It is Old Man Dawson, isn't it?
It is Old Man Dawson.
I enjoy calling football players in their mid-30s old.
Yeah, considerably younger than me.
Yeah. Well, I remember talking about how much of a dinosaur Glenn Louvens was, and we're about the same age.
Yeah.
We're about the same age.
Only he is in better shape, has a lot more money.
And
can do better moves in the dressing room. Actually, maybe no. I don't know. That's contentious.
Yeah, you're a bit of a mover, Luke.
Bit of a.
You could do some pointing and wiggling. Great defending by Alex, just sort of running up on him and sort of doing kind of crazy arms all around him.
Just harassing him, yeah.
Tickling him essentially into submission.
It was a bit of a paparazzi foul, wasn't it?
Maybe he was just trying to do a high-speed version of that thing where you like tap someone on the shoulder and then you go the other way.
Has anyone done that for challenging a player? It might be worth doing.
Oh, I remember that.
That was a huge miss.
It was awful defended by Tom Lees. Oh, it's not as bad as... Okay, yeah.
The handball as well?
Bounce off his hand. It did bounce off his hand. I thought he kicked it into his own hand, but it's Dawson's header onto his hand. But that is a dreadful miss. To not even get that on target is woeful, really.
Do you want to hear my striking coaching on that one?
I'd love to.
Get your knee over it.
Get your knee over it. Leaning back.
I'm wondering if that's, because like James Beattie,
and there's been a little bit more recent talk past 2 weeks about, is Beattie going to come to Wednesday?
Yes, yeah.
And Bullen was kind of like, yeah, probably at some point. And this is the interesting thing that basically we don't want to pay the exact compensation for him. They don't really want to give him us, but they don't want him themselves. So they're still paying him. And he's basically on gardening leave.
Yeah. So he's being held back from telling people to get their knee over it.
I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, though, if he's on gardening leave. Or he said at one point he was working from home. So that made me wonder, in this world of working from home, whether he was just basically telling people to get their knee over it over Zoom. Or just an email. Maybe it's just his signature line on emails. Every time it's just an auto reply, someone emails him being like, how can I improve my striking? And it just auto replies with, get your knee over it. Yours, Beats.
I do remember one of the first sort of moments that kind of brought James Beattie to my kind of wider attention. He scored.
Did he come to your wider attention because he's a big chap?
Well, he wasn't at the time. He was a young slip of a lad. Because as a youngster, he scored. I think he scored for Southampton against Arsenal, and it was like the last minute or something. You know, it meant they'd won. And he was interviewed after the game, and they said, "Oh, what was going through your mind as you were about to take the penalty?" And he just said, "Don't miss." And I did really like that for his honesty, because that's exactly what would be going through your mind. Don't miss. Obviously, later he sullied his good reputation with me by going and having his dalliance with the piggy wigs. But I think it just feels like we need lots more coaching staff. I don't know why.
We do.
Why we don't have more support in that way. It looks so thin. When you watch the training, there's barely anybody looking after what's going on. Stephen Fletcher trying for the sort of penalty that he has never been given in all of his 30-some years in football. It's a really good performance all around. This Reach is having a very good game. Every time he gets the ball, he's using it so well.
Very fortuitous from Fox there to get that.
Yes.
Works out pretty well from him.
You can see there's been a couple of tackles here with Luongo where it's like you can kind of see why he does occasionally get pulled up card-wise, because he's sharp in the tackle. He sort of plays on the edge a bit. Not quite as much as Hutch, but he definitely likes it. He likes a bit of a tussle for the ball. Some New Balance trainers from the Forest manager there. It's nice to know he's getting some good arch support as he jumps up and down on the sidelines there. Are they a New Balance team? Are they sponsored by New Balance?
I don't know. That's a good question. I've never heard of leaseloco.com.
No. Sounds cool, though.
Do you want to be Lease Loco, or is it in the adverts, someone's talking about... LeaseLoco.com! Talking about their colleague, talking about a friend, and be like, "Oh, he's Lease Loco. He really, he's really lost his lease marbles."
It might be avoiding you. I'm guessing, seeing as I got Macron on the side, the kit's made by Macron. Just sometimes it's like the whole coaching team is like decked out head to toe in the clobber from the kit sponsor.
So, a quick question, Rich. I take it you will have the opportunity to watch the remaining games.
Well, as a season ticket holder, I think I can watch them all through the wonders of iFollow.
Oh, excellent.
Whether they're shown on... Oh! Such a good goal.
Do you think the real miraculous of this is like it's a nice header, but for the strength, the fact the man scored a perfect hat trick We've rarely seen any hat tricks for Wednesday, and then we've had like a perfect hat trick. And he hits it. Both of them hits him so well with both feet. It's just incredible.
Such a good, good work by Palmer to kind of keep that alive. And then Watson, who has 5 minutes ago missed an absolute sitter, nods it back across his own box. Awful. Not one of his better days at the office. Maybe he doesn't know Nottingham Forest after all.
Do you think that's the thing? Like, if we could get more coaching staff, they wouldn't know, or Monk doesn't know them. I guess I'm curious with coaching staff. It's a very insular world, isn't it? Because people continually work with the people they want to work with.
It is, yeah. But I always think the best of that is if you're a manager and you know where your weaknesses lie. Like Paul Sturrock was always in a duo with Summerfield and John Blackley. So Paul Sturrock, a striker, generally you saw improvements by forward players that were under his tutelage. So Summerfield was, I believe, a midfielder in his career, and Blackley was definitely the defensive coach. And I think that's what you want, is somebody that kind of goes, okay, I don't know much about. So presumably Monk, he had a very fine career as a centre-back. So there's not much that somebody is going to be able to tell him about being a centre-back, I'm guessing. But what he knows about being a striker, a winger, etc., is probably not particularly amazing. It's probably from the perspective of a centre-back. It's really bad for centre-backs when you do X, which is a bit of an insight, but it's not. I don't know.
We're looking at that as a very basic kind of mentality, right? Because, we're looking at, outside of that, you've got Bullen, who's primarily a defender by trade. Funnily enough, Bullen did start his career as a striker, right?
Yes, I believe so.
A long, long time ago.
And he's got a clean sheet under his belt, so as a goalkeeper, he can do it. That's why you don't need anybody else.
That's it. We'll just fire Weaver, and
he's a bully of all trades. I think that is genuinely, though, it's quite an interesting thing. I have no idea what actually happens in terms of football coaching, because you're not. We talked a bit about Graham Taylor, and there's a thing of Graham Taylor telling Andy Sinton how to cross a football, and Andy Sinton knows how to cross a football. He's a senior pro by that stage, so Graham Taylor does not need to tell him, that's it, get around it. He knows. So what does happen in football training? I would really love to know.
But I don't know. We feel that
it's got to be.
I don't know how many coaching staff you need. I don't know how many it takes to, change the light bulb effectively.
But I can only think, during so there's fitness, but most of that's done pre-season. Beyond that, it's gonna be sort of maybe technique, but probably more tactics, I would think. So you've got a whole team shape. I just remember, this is again, sorry to go back to John Blackley. I remember watching Frankie Simek have an absolutely torrid time against Darren Huckerby. And Huckerby was, he probably never quite sort of achieved to the level that he should have. But on his day, an incredibly tricky player, very, very fast, lots of, step overs and dropping the shoulder and things like that. A very tricky winger inside forward. And Frankie Simek, as a young right back, was having a really awful time against him first half. And then it was clear that he'd been told at half time to stand slightly further off him, to kind of let him do his first trick and then take the ball after that. Do you know what I mean? So being too close to him, although that's quite often the thing that you want to do as a defender, didn't suit him because it meant that Huckabee could kind of do the trick and get past him. So I think you just want, presumably that's what you want, is somebody that can spot those things and get their point across to the people, to the players that sit under them, as to how they can improve their performance. Yeah.
I mean, I do wonder ultimately whether it's just the fact that, like Monk doesn't know other coaching staff and they don't know him. So they don't know that he really likes the game of life, for example.
Just speaking about lots and lots of sports games, I have this very vivid memory, and I was only recently sort of had it corrected for me. But I remember going to like a kids' party when I was very young and playing pickup sticks. No, not pickup sticks. Pickup sticks. Sorry, yeah. So the one where the game of pickup sticks. There's like a pile of sticks on the thing, and you've got to pick it up. It's like reverse Jenga, I guess, in a way. You've got to pick out one without moving any of the others. Sort of thing.
Okay.
And what must have happened at this party was we were playing pickup sticks, and then one of the children, giddy from the party and presumably the cake on offer, puked on the pickup sticks.
Excellent.
And I, until very recently, was like, I just thought, oh, that's what happens in that game. It's like, you're doing pickup sticks, and then there's some horrible stuff on sticks. And then I was like, I don't know. I was talking to someone, like, that's not part of the game, is it? No, it's just something that happened. It's just funny how those little like young memories get embedded and like warped by time and things like that.
I've also now got an image of basically the end of Monk's reign where he starts losing it and he just starts talking about the game of life at like his press conferences. I'd really like that. The race is on to make good money or get married. That could be funny. Need to learn how to be a winner at the game of life.
He's got some import version of the game with different rules so that he can try and get a sort of one-up on the people he's playing. Oh, I think I do remember there's some sort of plastic surgery being advertised around the edges of the ground, I think, at this stage. I vaguely remember that from during the game. So we're on the cusp of goal number 4, I think.
Cusp of half-time, cusp of, fourth goal.
Bit of
I think maybe my thoughts about Forest are really compounded by the fact that basically, we basically went to their place and just dismantled them.
And we've got quite a good record at their place, haven't we, I think? Which is, again, the opposite of Derby, where we haven't won in like 8 years or something stupid.
Derby are just the ultimate bogey team for us.
Yeah. Oh, Fletch absolutely buying a foul. Is it not given? Oh, argy-bargy.
Don't just push.
Fletch did kick out on the way round.
Kick out on the way down, yeah.
See you. I'll bust your heat, mate. This could be the one of all the sort of negatives around playing in a freaky empty stadium. Getting to hear some of these conversations might be quite a fun sort of addition to.
But are we going to have that, or are we going to have like piped in crap again?
Probably.
I'd rather just completely go with the complete freak flag of the whole situation. Well, so I don't know. This is something. Let's just wait for this goal, and I can probably just.
Okay.
Does the goal come from this? I think it does.
I can't remember. Reach did really well to win the corner, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
lovely! I love the little kick off a defender.
Yeah.
To just get a lovely little bit of gamesmanship.
Oh, hands up from Baz.
Put your hands up for Bannon. He loves this corner.
Oh, I remember, yes.
Oh, there we go.
Basically, Lees was saved from from a missing an absolute sitter by Fletch poking it home. But that's the sort of form he's been in. He's picking up all sorts of goals, this Fletch. You can see the odd Christmas jumper in the crowd, seeing as we were just before Christmas.
Little Crimbo treat.
It's a very good corner from Bannon. It's exactly where you want it to be, really. Just looped over the first man and dropped in the middle of the penalty area. Oh, so Tom Lees did get his shot on target, to be fair. Just bounced off the defender and then
it's pretty fortuitous, but we got there.
Yeah, when you're you're in form, you're feeling yourself. That's the sort of goal that you just rack up.
And he did feel himself that night, so let me tell you that.
No!
And we were all feeling ourselves in the crowd.
Forrest with the off-centre tunnel.
So you got a little hug from Murphs.
Yeah, they're big pals.
Big pals.
They get Norwich, okay? That's what they talk about.
Yeah, Norwich.
Do I tell you what I like about Norwich? Just the kit's so yellow, isn't it? Yeah, I like how it's got a bit of green on it. It's like Brazil, isn't it? Yeah.
I like how Daniel Farke instigated that the club game was Monopoly Go. That's what I like.
Do you know when I'm feeling down, I watch that little clip of Delia. Because I think it builds me up. Yeah, I like it. Because I like how it's yellow, the shirt, but also I like Delia. Do you like Delia? Yeah, I like Delia. That's how they talk when they're playing Monopoly together.
Do you enjoy the fact that amongst our celebrity fans are Stephen Fry and Hugh Jackman? Like, yes, I do like that as well. Do you think if we do well enough, we get to the playoffs, we might get a little tweet from Hugh Jackman? It's similar to how Shaq does when he supports Northampton.
I didn't know about Shaq supporting Northampton.
It's hilarious, isn't it? It's hilarious. Do you know that Shaquille O'Neal has an Ed D account? Degree, which is like a doctorate that you don't do a study piece for.
All right.
There you go. He's got a doctorate of education. So there you go. Dr. Shaq of the Cobblers. Who also didn't he put a cardboard cutout of himself in the stadium? We'll get one.
Yes.
Stadium. Yes. So the thing I wanted to bring up is about so here we go. We won't fully get into this. They've said the Premier League they're doing stuff to support the Black Lives Matter movement, which is fantastic. I'm fully behind that. I find the decision to put the names on everyone's back of the shirts Black Lives Matter to be strange. Though I would like the commentary to basically just be Black Lives Matter passes to Black Lives Matter. He sends a lovely through ball to Black Lives Matter. Tackled by Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
I would like that. The thing I was going to bring up is the Premier League is doing a minute's silence for the NHS.
Right, okay.
Which I find strange because the NHS isn't dead. You know?
It's been... it's been a big part of the sort of corona... I don't know what to call it. You know, the moment of that Corona has had in so there was things with people clapping for the NHS.
Yes. Yep.
There's been, I think, there's also the fact, unfortunately, lots of people that work in the NHS have died from the virus because there wasn't sufficient protective.
Right. Okay.
And there's been a kind of movement. I would characterize it as being kind of pushed by the more right-wing press. I don't want to get too political here, but to kind of talk about NHS workers as heroes, and the front line gets mentioned. So it's almost like wartime.
Yeah.
And they're soldiers, which I think is unhelpful because it didn't need to necessarily be, huge numbers of deaths of NHS workers if they were properly supported.
It's like anyone. Do you want to call these people who work at your supermarket or people who work in your local hospital heroes, or do you want to pay them decent wage and protect them in the process?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Also, a Daily Mail front page a few weeks ago that got quite a lot of, I would say, warranted scorn, saying that schools should come back because teachers are desperate to be heroes in the same way. So that I think that's one of the narratives, is this kind of wartime frontline thing, which I think I'm as proud of the NHS as a person can be, and it's been a huge help to myself and my family, but I do think it's unhelpful the way it's been cast. The other thing that's been unhelpful at the same time is there's been a lot of things that have sort of talked about the NHS as a charity, which it's not. It's a public service that we all pay for, and it's been underfunded for too many years. And it's all dancing around the fact that basically we're now in whatever we are, the 11th or 12th year of Tory austerity. Maybe it's even longer. It might be 15 years. And rather than actually address the problems, we're kind of doing fundraisers and clapping our heroes. So I kind of agree with your cynicism. I'm also I know exactly where it's coming from as a choice as well.
I just find it a strange decision. Because we typically have like celebrations and commemorations of people's lives at football games within stadiums where people are there, and it's like, it's Remembrance Sunday. We're doing a minute silence. The fact that everybody is there and holding a collective silence—that's
what makes the moment. Yeah,
it's very powerful. Or everybody applauds, and you make this beautiful noise, and there's a lot of emotion there. That's it. To do something in a stadium devoid of any, I guess the problem is if you clap, it looks poxy.
Yeah.
But if you're silent, there's also plenty of silence there.
Yes, I do. That
maybe silence is the better.
How daft that is, really.
But it's strange in any dimension.
Yeah, the power of the moment silence is that there are 30,000 people here, and you can hear a pin drop.
Yes.
When it's the 22 people on the pitch and the 40 or so people they've brought along, that's not quite the same powerful moment.
No, I don't. So I support some element or some gesture. I think it's very nice and very sweet. I just don't know if doesn't make much sense.
Yeah. But there's tokenism is what people feel most comfortable doing. The gesture that doesn't actually do anything, but it's fairly easy.
Yeah.
There's lots of things we can get into in that regard, but like the way that sort of footballers were hounded to sort of, they should be giving up their pay and things. And then I think there was a report that came out this week showing just how much the EFL and the Premier League sort of combined add to the economy, and it's a huge amount of money. And the most players do pay taxes. They get wages in the same players. Even though they're massive wages, they get wages in the same way as most workers do. So
there's no distinct way out of it, right?
What's that? Sorry,
I said there's no way out of it for those people being employees. You know, it's not quite like they're not like the Apples of the world. They can't just register stuff
exactly.
in
I'm actually a company in Holland, even though we've got a head office. I have a head office in this body, but I'm actually based in Ireland. Oof, dug out a decent effort there.
Do you think it's interesting the fact that we're completing we can talk a lot about player contracts. Like players are coming out of contracts at the end of June. So technically, football contracts would start July 1st.
Yeah.
Do you think anybody's going to be in a position to hold off giving new contracts to players?
Well, I was wondering, like we've been linked with Taylor at...
yes. Lyle Taylor at Charlton.
Yeah. So if, say, we have agreed a deal with him, does he? So he might be able to. His contract would probably start on the 1st of July, but he can't play for us. It's a weird position to be in.
And then they're saying the transfer window has been extended to October. I mean, I have no idea how the next season's. I mean, everything's very short-termism, right? We're just focusing on what's in front of us. But there's so many knock-on effects.
Well, that's the next. Well, the next battle is in the courtrooms because I think a French club have managed to challenge
the League
that there was no legal. Yeah. There's no legal right for them to be relegated on a points per game basis. There's no jurisdiction for that being allowed. So they've managed to overturn it. So that will be, I think, every club probably who's got the resources and has been relegated on a points per game basis is probably going to try and do the same thing here. So that's going to be the next fun. Is going to be the summer of litigation. In the 60s they had the summer of love, but we will have our summer of litigation. There's barbecue. There's socially distant barbecues, and there is a lot of work going on in the courtrooms. But yeah, the next thing on top of that is when do we start next season? Because again, those same clubs that have cancelled this season, so that the National League clubs, the League One clubs, the League Two clubs, their reasons for cancelling the season are the same reasons that they wouldn't want to start again.
Yeah,
because playing a game in an empty stadium for them is just turning on the money hose and spraying it directly against the wall.
Spunking their money hose like sprinklers all over.
Yeah. And there will be clubs in the Championship that are in that same position. I know we've had a long and painful kind of journey towards more people having season tickets and less people paying on the gate. But still, a percentage of our income will be reliant on people that do pay on the gate. We're going to have to pay on the day. We're going to have to offer some sort of rebate to. I don't know. I haven't. Full disclosure, so I do have a season ticket with my sister and I are both season ticket holders. She seems to have got the email about rebate options, so I have not seen what the options are to this point. But they're going to have to do that for next season as well. And if lots of people take that up, then that's going to hurt clubs massively.
So, I mean, as it would stand, I mean, the new season would start the beginning of August, usually.
So that's what the league, I think now the majority of league, from the whispers and rumours, the majority of League Two clubs, at the very least, find that unfeasible. So they would like to wait till September or October so that there's a realistic possibility of at least having some people in the crowd.
So I do want to kind of say, like, what is
love? Baby, don't hurt me.
Baby, don't hurt me. Very much so.
Sorry.
You had a way with my words there, Rich.
Hey.
Anyway, like, I mean, would we...
Wednesday have gone halfway on the bus home, and we've not paid any attention to this football match in the second half, by the way.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, you could all say, we could have really said to people at set of half time, if you want to stop watching, because we've had a chance to watch from the second half. But we've done this, though, haven't we? Because we've had watch-alongs where all the action happens and then it's like there's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, the second half was fine. I remember kind of just watching. It's nice to have the ability to watch a game with all the stress taken out.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the real Coke Zero of, of watching football.
Oh.
You mean I can watch the game without any of the heartache or misery?
Exactly.
It has zero of the negative calories. Sure.
I thought that was a terrible miss, it was a terrible miss, but it was also a good little tackle by Luongo.
Do you think there's any appetite to do a shortened season? Like half a season? Like you just play every club once and then you just do a little draw to see whether the uneven game is at home or away for you?
Maybe.
Because, I mean, they've kind of done that within American sports, like the NHL did short seasons, and, they've done it before. So, and it's still competition. And surely that means that every game is more important.
Yeah.
You do that, you shorten the season, you can probably still have it like longer than half because you've got to think about cup competitions. Because that's the problem, is like cup competitions will still want to happen because, again, let's look at this. There's still money involved for these things.
But doesn't it sit easier in American seasons to do that because they always end up being a weird hodgepodge anyway? I don't know about NHL in particular, but you don't play all of the teams that are in the NBA or the NFL. You play like some of them. Like you
play all of them. There's just some teams you play more so because of regional.
The NFL is like you play. I think you play everybody from your little league, and then you play like one team or two teams from the East.
Yeah, but I mean
one team from the West Championship. Like you don't play everybody every season.
Yeah, the NFL is a more concentrated season than football.
Yeah,
the nature. But I mean, like, baseball. There's way too much baseball. As much as I enjoy baseball,
yeah, wasteful.
Ridiculous and wasteful about baseball. Yeah. It's a real buffet. It's a real buffet of baseball, and a lot of it's gone cold, and a lot of it's under the heat lamps.
It's insane.
We're not going to feed it we can't give it to the homeless people. So we're just going to throw it out. And then we're going to light it on fire, and then it's going to cause a hole in the ozone layer. Yeah, it's just wasteful.
I can never figure out with baseball how you figure out which, like, because a team will come and do the series. Like, say the Yankees come to town, there'll be one game where the Yankees put the absolute dogs out, and you get to thump the Yankees. There'll be one game where they put the best out, and they absolutely pummel you. Do you I don't know how you. Do they announce ahead of time? Like, guys, if you're a Yankees fan, do not come on Saturday. It's gonna be bad.
Did the fans turn into Baja men and say, "Who let the dogs out?"
Exactly. But yeah, come on Friday night. Oh, it's gonna be good.
Oh, it's good. But anyway, I mean, I don't know how the ramifications of football on from this is going to happen. Whether in League One, like if we go down to League One, there could be clubs that go out of business.
There's going to be, without some sort of safe, rescue package.
Like
we're going to lose an awful lot of historical names from English football.
Yeah, like I mean. We're going to go into... I mean, we already don't really have the 92 anymore because it's the 91 right now.
Exactly.
Because Bury have well and truly been buried.
As we touched on, I don't really know where Parry's coming from. And the fact he's worked for the Premier League before, it's not kind of mad to feel like, is he like some sort of agent for the Premier League, just trying to do away with the Football League?
No. I mean, he's also like he's also a deceased member of Status Quo that we know as well. So
exactly.
He's a very difficult person.
So many nose cocaines that he passed away.
Nose clams.
Nose
clams. I don't know. I just football is just such a strange beast at this moment.
But he turned down the money from the Premier League, didn't he? The kind of
yes. At one point he said, "I'm not a fan of handouts," and then later on he said, "I think we should have some handouts."
We need a much bigger handout.
The guy's an idiot. The guy's truly an idiot. Like,
it does seem that way.
I'm struggling to see any competence to anything he does. You know?
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, every club will be hurting, and it's just a measure of how much they're hurting. And once again, we get into this situation of, oh, that was nice from Reach. It was a good bit of defending, but it was a really nice run. We get into this thing of, oh, well, okay, if you've got an owner that is willing to underwrite things and basically go, well, this is a crap couple of years, but I still want to get promoted, so we're going to spend this summer. Are you still going to get clobbered in the same way?
I don't know. Well, there should be there should be agreements to do away with FFP for the immediate future.
Everybody's going to lose money
until we get to a sense of normality, which I guess normality, whatever you want to say it, however I should say it, whether that's, it's probably going to be a vaccine for this virus, right?
Yeah. But that is. I mean, it's a big question that needs to be answered, because clubs will be battered financially by this.
Oh yeah, there are clubs that are going to the wall and going to go out of existence. Administration will go out of existence. Close the doors.
But on the other side, some of them will have deep enough pockets that they can just go, oh well.
Well, that's it. That's how I feel for us, and that's how I feel it would be for. I feel things are not the rosiest under Chancery going on our current situation and current charges against us. But the thing I feel fairly comfortable and confident about saying, and maybe I kind of feel a bit weird, I should look around some wood to touch here, just to make sure my plastic Formica table. He'd never put us out of business.
I don't think so.
I'd be very, very, very surprised if that was a reality.
Well, he would lose more than anyone else from doing that.
Yeah.
The debts that the club owes are to him, by and large.
Yeah.
We've never heard any problems about paying.
The way it sounds like it's going to be, unless he has a change of heart, and then there's an environment where there's a big package or something. Someone's going to come in to give him some money to make him think otherwise. Yeah. It's largely going to be a family affair for Chancery.
It's a family affair. Yeah, he wants to hand it on to At.
Yeah, and I'd love to see At as chair. I'd love to see that day. Maybe you could do a YouTube about it. Love to see it. I can't
wait till Sheffield Wednesday has its own TikTok account.
Maybe Jordan Rhodes. I would like to see Jordan Rhodes do the Tootsie slide.
I do like that we're still pushing forward.
It goes right, left. It goes left foot up, right, left, right foot slide.
That wasn't so good for Luongo. I tell you what's nice, though, in this game. I know 4-0 is different to 2-0 or 1-0, but we're not just sat back. We're continuing to push forward and have
we're still participating, even though, like, the thing of the contentious at the time was against Forrest, was they're saying they came out and did nothing this half, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh, because he did, and famously he didn't make any changes, did he? Because he said, "Oh, I'd like to change them all, so I'm not going to change anybody."
Which at the time I said I think I was sympathetic with, but then also I've heard and people have said, and I think even you said, that's ridiculous. You should make changes.
You've got to at least try, I think.
Yeah. Interesting that this was a game. It was a real one-off. in terms of us and our attacking prowess, but also for Forest, that it hasn't derailed their season like it could do.
Yeah.
Like, I feel if it was Wednesday, this would just hit us for 6, right?
Yeah, we wouldn't win for the next 6 or 7 weeks.
I think we've kind of seen that. I don't really know. I can't really put my finger on the point. It's interesting. How did this team that was pushing, this was build up towards third in the league at Christmas, how did we implode? Because we look fairly confident, really.
Yeah. I don't know really, because people do point to, like, you still get the people now who are like, oh, talk about Westwood being like left out in the cold and stuff. But Dawson was the goalkeeper when we went on this run that got us right up there at Christmas.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's it. And Hutch isn't. I think Luongo, the big patches of injury Luongo's had have coincided with some bad form for us generally. I think he seems to be a bit of a vital cog for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's that inconsistency, though. It's like you don't get rewarded for your good performances. You don't, like we said with Rhodes, like scoring a hat-trick should buy you starting the next however many games as a striker, because it's like you've kind of shown you can do it and nobody else has. Ati scored 2 goals all season or 3 goals all season, and you scored 3 in a game. So therefore, you get the chance to play ahead of Ati over the next month or so. That's kind of how it should work. You get rewarded for good form. But it just seems to be that.
But again, it's a whole trick about confidence. Like,
yeah,
these players they're not terrible. They're not this is definitely a side that could be, pushing top 6.
As you say, we saw it. We were up there for that period.
We saw it, yeah. It happened.
It did happen.
We witnessed it.
But, yeah, I mean, if you look at the man for man, I mean, I know we've got questions over Tom Lee's potentially, but I think Palmer's a very solid right back now in this league. I think Fox is a very good left back now. I wouldn't have said that at the start of the season, but I would say it now. Iorfa's been a revelation at centre back. Whoever he's paired with, it generally works out more often than it doesn't. Bannon is, well, we know Bannon. He's about as good a player as the league has.
Yeah.
Harris is very dangerous on his day. Murphy's very dangerous on his day. Reach is brilliant on his day, although there's not been many Reach days this season.
No.
Fletcher's one of the best strikers in the league this season. He's having the time of his life. I think losing injury did coincide with a dip in form, didn't it? And we are very reliant on what he brings. We did Liam Neeson impressions, didn't we? His set of skills.
Set of skills, yes. And, Luongo was interviewed recently in the media and was saying how this was just an absolute nightmare of a season for him.
Because he's always been a pretty ever-present guy, hasn't he?
Pretty much.
But as you say, there's not such a drop off between our players and the other teams that are outside of the top sort of 2 or 3 in the league. I think there is a bit of a gulf between us and maybe sort of Leeds and West Brom and potentially Fulham. But outside of those 3 teams, it's all much of a muchness. It's just, it's confidence. It's having a plan. It's executing things properly. And, well, hopefully, you could say we're in a position to benefit more than most from the restart because we had no form going in. So we've got nothing to lose, I'd hate to think that we could be worse than we were before we went into the break.
I was laughing. Al's Americas were back this week, so I listened to that, and that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
For those guys who come back, and they were, one of them was, I can't remember who it was, but saying, "What if Wednesday plays so well at Hillsborough now? There's no fans. That fans won't be let back in."
We have to watch in a second stadium.
Exactly. We'll all pile into Dooley's, wherever it is.
Yeah. I think we could rent out Bramall Lane.
Seems fair.
Because we don't tend to play together. They tend to be away when we're at home. So
there's that as well.
The team could play at Hillsborough. We could all watch on a stream in another stadium. Don't pipe the noise in.
Yeah.
Because that's apparently too much for them.
I mean, we could give them like a £1 a ticket or something, and they're probably quite up for that, wouldn't they? Yeah. That's kind of in line with their ticketing prices anyway.
Ticketing prices. Yeah.
No. I think it was, I think if I went and probably gave them 2 and 6, I think they're probably like, yeah, that's pretty fair. It's a good deal.
We're normally letting people in for free. And we give them free chip butty. It actually costs us money to have fans in.
I did find myself laughing at the fact that the Blairs giving the Blavdis giving a 2-year deal to Billy Sharp.
I've just seen McGoldrick's got a new deal as well.
McGoldrick's got a new deal.
Yeah.
Wow. A player who we kind of really have forgotten actually had a stint at Wednesday as well.
Yes. Yeah. One of the many 1-month loans through the years.
We really abused that during the Madrid time, didn't we?
We did. We also made pretty good use of it under Sturrock, I think. It was always the emergency loan market was very kind to us.
I mean, it's a shame it's gone, really.
It's taken a lot of the fun out of things, hasn't it, I think?
Yeah.
That's one of the things I really noticed with, I think, football games. I know this is not the biggest concern in the world, but like things like Football Manager and FIFA and Pro Evo, the transfer window has ruined them because the game becomes like a grind between transfer windows because that's the fun bit, is trying to get new players.
We are like hardfire. We are living for the transfer window.
Yes.
Living for the transfer weekend.
Living for the window.
Yeah. I find it difficult when I play Pro Evolution Soccer because I've recently dusted off my 360 and played the last one I have, which is Pro of 2018. And I pretty much a lot of the time it's just like, God, when can I get to this transfer window so I can get some better players?
Exactly. Tom Lee's nearly bumming it into the far corner there.
Is that an episode title?
Guess his cheek's in the way.
I'd like to think that Tom Lees is Jewish, and he talked about oy vey, and he came off my tuchus. Like a Hasidic New York.
Tom Lees is down injured now. It's hemorrhoids. Bromsford's hemorrhoids.
Lees' hemorrhoids. There's a thing, because I mean, especially with these watch-alongs, that we cherry-picked some games, but a lot of this has been the fact that, obviously we know a lot of these Wednesday players who've been there in and around the team for numbers of years now. And how long did we have Lees? When did we sign Lees? Was it like 2014 or something?
Yeah, he's been with us a long time.
Long time. So we were watching a lot of games of Lees just looking a different player.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I was recently looking at, this is an interesting thing I was thinking about, was
Have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
I haven't.
So basically, it's Dunning-Kruger,
obviously.
Freddy Krueger, yeah. David Dunning and Freddy Krueger, the eponymous Dunning-Kruger effect. It's a cognitive bias where people are incompetent at something, unable to recognize their own incompetence. Not only do they fail to recognize their incompetence, they're also likely to feel confident they actually are competent.
Oh, wow.
So it's basically like you start off, you know nothing, but you're really cocky about yourself. Then you go down, you get more confident, and then eventually it just climbs back up again.
Interesting.
It's interesting, but I feel that we probably have, ourselves as human beings in numerous, disciplines. We apply ourselves in work and relationships and all this stuff. But we probably have numerous mini cycles of that, you'd think.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
I'm curious what is going on with Tom Lees.
Yeah, I don't know, because I think one of the things I started to notice sort of Carlos's last year, it would have been, was more so than his, because I don't think he's ever been a comfortable guy on the ball, but I think he's been competent on the ball.
Yeah.
But I think where his game seems to have really sort of dropped away is actually fundamental defending stuff. And I just remember, I distinctly remember sort of texting you after a loss, and it's the things. It's like those cardinal rules of defending. He seems to either be ignoring them or he's forgotten them. So things like if you're a centre back and you end up in the channel, sort of challenging either the striker or the winger, you kind of need to make something happen in that position. So what doesn't happen, the cardinal sin of being there is you let the ball end up in the box because you should be there to defend the ball. So what you need to do is make sure that you either take the player out or you get the ball out. And you kind of have to do one or the other. It doesn't really matter which. And that sort of thing just seems to have gone. You see him wander into the channel, put a half-hearted challenge in, and then, even worse, to sort of compound the mistake, he doesn't hammer his play way back into the box. He just watches the player, sort of almost hand on hip, sort of just wandering back into position. And that sort of thing where you're not fighting to recovery is as big as almost anything else in defending. Taking up your position again so that you can be in a position to sort of tackle for the next, fight for the next ball, deal with the next thing that comes in. And he seems to have stopped doing that. And I don't know whether that's a coaching thing. So we've lost some input that was quite important in just keep making sure everybody minds their P's and Q's, or whether he doesn't care anymore, whether he's lost a bit of something. Maybe he's got some sort of underlying issue. He seems to quite regularly have sort of foot problems that sort of make him miss games every now and then. So I don't know what it is, but he certainly, that's one of the biggest things, is just he's not doing the things you're supposed to do as a centre back of any level, but certainly at the level he's achieved at, it should be like bread and butter, second nature stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Add to that now that he is more worried and more panicked in possession, but I think that all stems from he's not confident defensively, so therefore he's worried about being put in positions to defend. It's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah. I really hope for his sake and for our sake he somehow gets over it. I don't know what the... Maybe there isn't.
It shouldn't be an age thing, should it? It shouldn't be an athleticism problem. He's 29 years old. He should be fine. So barring that situation where there is something, there's a kind of niggling problem underneath,
Yeah, I mean, there are times when I think players, getting to the point where they should be able to reach, a steady standard of quality.
Yeah.
And then you might have seasons where you have some peaks and troughs around that, but it shouldn't be as this drastic. Unless you've got a player. I mean, there are players who do just have breakdowns.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what's happening.
To go back to baseball, players get the yips, don't they?
You do get the yips.
And never recover from it. Like whole careers get ruined because you start to have a second thought in your head before you throw the ball, and that time is all important in baseball. Like I say, I mean, it's obvious that there's not as many members of the coaching staff, so that feels like a kind of something to point to, because it's an optics change, isn't it? It's something we can obviously see is not where it was previously. You're used to a bench of 8 to 10 people, and we've got a bench which is considerably, it's probably about half that size. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's the issue. But there's several players who are not doing, because I think Reach has possibly had his worst season for us this season as well. And he's an ever dependable, seems to do all the right things guy. And he's had a bad year. So I don't know. Who knows what's going on really behind the scenes. He's another one that's lacking confidence, Reach.
Yeah. There's so many weird questions with this team right now in the squad. I'm always optimistic. I'm optimistic. I'm actually just full of hope. Am I full of hope? No, I try and hope a great deal. I hope a great deal. God, we really downgraded that very quickly, didn't it? That really walked back on that statement a lot. I really hope that Monk is the person to turn it around. I think right now with all this uncertainty, I think it's going to do Monk a big favor for giving him a time allowance, because I think in any other situation, I feel like the argument is a lot less in a regular, stable situation for giving Monk more time. But now I think we really do need Monk more time, because I don't want to do the consistent thing we do that, people have joked, and this will sound a little bit offensive to Lee Bullen, but we can't fire Bullen because we need him around for when we fire someone. It's going to be someone said that. And I was like, yeah. Unfortunately, that's kind of the truth.
It's so hard to know with Monk, because it's that combination. Again, we're always working kind of. It's not even half in the dark. It's like 80% of the situation is hidden from us, and we know little bits and bobs. So we know some of the same issues that happened to Jos Luhukay have happened to Monk, and the same two characters seem to be at the center of it. He doesn't have the benefit. If Luhukay had managed to wait till the end of the season, he could have actually been rid of both of those characters because they're both out of contract.
Well, we'll never know. We'll never see what the long-term effect of Jos Luhukay is.
No, but Monk is kind of, unfortunately, on a bit of a hiding to nothing, because nobody will want Westwood for what he's paid, for anything like the wages he's on with us. And he's got another year left. So he can let Hutch go and kind of break up part of that, whatever the issue is. But he's still got Westwood to deal with. So you still got that kind of, that whatever impact that has, it's still there. And we also don't know how much of that is Monk's fault, how much of that is something that seems to, when you read those sort of interviews with Louvens and Wallace, seems to be the reason behind why things fell apart for Carlos, why things fell apart for Jos. So they didn't manage to rear their head under Bruce, but again, it's an entirely unknowable thing whether the same characters may well have just run out of patience with Bruce as well. Maybe it would have taken longer because he was, more of a formidable character, but it's now, this is the third season running where that's happened. So how much of that is Monk's fault? Probably not that much. He's just not dealt with it better than the other three characters did. Performance-wise, we've had some good ones and some bad ones. I do think we've looked clueless a lot of times recently. So it is hard to point to, but you're right. In a way, this is perfect for Monk because he's kind of had a second pre-season and he gets another fresh start.
I just hope it's different. I just hope it's better and different. If it's not going to be, it's going to be.
But do you think it also? But the other side of that is, I think it might be good to the club is that we've kind of got that, and then we've got a second referendum on his performance in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Amongst it.
That's the episode title.
Monkxit, yeah.
Because I think if it doesn't get better, if we now come into if we end up in relegation trouble, it will be because our form in these last 8 games or whatever they are.
But the form could be screwed because the whole situation could be screwed because of the charge over the club, which the players are like, oh no, it's not. It's not causing us any performance issues.
And then players, when they retire, say, "Yeah, of course, we know all about." Of course,
it is. Yeah, like Darren Purse did in the Wednesday book we covered. Yeah.
So, that's another factor. Yes, so that is a factor that is hanging over the club and may possibly be having an impact as well. And it's out of Monk's hands. So you're right, but if he can't motivate them to go. We could insulate ourselves from that situation by winning more games than we lose in this last little run. We could put ourselves in a position where the maximum point deduction wouldn't put us in trouble. So if you can't go to your players and say, guys, this is a crap situation to be in. It's none of our faults, but it is all in our own hands. And motivate people with the prospect of, do you want to stay in the championship? Then that's, for me, is like a worthy of criticism, even though the situation is not his fault. If he can't pull some performances out of it, then what's he doing? That's what you want a manager to do. How many times did Ferguson do that? I know he's the kind of he's the kind of exception to every rule, isn't he?
About giving football managers time, yeah.
Yeah, but
Ryan.
But how many times did Ferguson. How many times did he instigate a situation where it was us against the world? How many times did he manipulate a situation to make that happen? Because it's actually one of the best sort of motivating circumstances is, well, the world is against us, but do you know what? We can go out and win football matches. Nobody can stop us doing that. The Gary Megson thing. Nobody can stop us talking. Nobody can stop us running. Those sort of add in a Bobby Robson one. The ball never gets tired. Do you know what I mean? Like, it should be. I know it's a demotivating factor because uncertainty generally is a demotivator, but there's also a guy there who's his only job is to motivate people. So, yeah, I think no reaction would be a kind of tell a tale to itself. Oh, nonsense, was that a foul? Come on, mate. We're in the dying stages of this second half of football that we have paid nary attention to at all.
Yes,
I have been watching it all the way through, but Nothing much.
So I was here as well. It happened. We were
Yeah.
both witness to this. As all were Wednesdayites, where we just.
But I
nice
do feel I could have learned as much about these two teams by just staring at a blank screen. Yeah, so I think for Monk it's an opportunity because it's a fresh start, and if he, it's a chance for him to kind of go, well, look what I was able to do given a bit of time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And from our hopefully from the club's point of view, we're kind of keeping all of our options open. My worry is that Monk will keep the job because we can't afford anything else in our current situation. So like Joey Pelupessy, despite the fact that literally nobody is excited by the prospect of another year under his tutelage, he gets to stay on board. Well,
there we go.
A tremendous victory. It all happened in the first half, but we've reached full time. There's Jordan Rhodes getting all the pats on the back and the claps. I'm hoping to see him get the match ball at least.
I think he did.
Did he?
Oh,
He's not holding it.
Well, he did later because the players all signed it for him, didn't he?
Yeah, but on FIFA they always the referee hands it. So I expect life to be exactly like FIFA because that's where the crowd noises come from now. Do you remember when people used to go to football? That was weird, wasn't it? It's better now that FIFA does all the crowd noises.
I think so.
It'd be fun if they kind of got the tracks mixed up and they play like the wrong chants over games and stuff.
That would be fantastic. I'd appreciate it.
Or they get like a Big Bang Theory laugh track over the top. Hear it? Oh, come on.
Canned laughter.
Yes. There you go. See, it does happen. See, it's not just FIFA. It's real.
Beautiful stuff.
Are we calling it?
I think so. Yeah. Time of death on this game.
Doing the rapid Vienna celebration with the crowds.
Love it.
I forgot to say that's when we were talking about where Atty might go. I feel like he might go back there as well.
Yeah.
There's a potential choice for him. Right. Well, that was that. We've got some actual new real football to talk about next week, barring some sort of dreadful emergency. So it's going to be so strange. We're at the point now where things have not been normal for so long that normal is going to feel very, very weird for at least a little while. But that's where we're at. You're just watching Rhodes just bouncing the ball off his forehead.
Brilliant.
That's
good to know.
That's as good and last little moment as we could hope for, I think, for the podcast. Well, I'm going to say cheerio and have a lovely week, Luke.
You too. Have a fantastic week and fantastic week to the listeners.
Yeah, folks at home. And we'll see you on the other side of some actual football.
Woohoo! I can't wait. See you.
Are you not entertained?
Hopefully we are. But we could also not be.
It's going to be weird to get back to being nervous. Anyway, cheerio, folks.
See you guys.
See you, Luke.
Bye.
Bye.